The police station woke slowly under a gray morning sky. Officers moved through hallways with tired steps and quiet voices. The air felt heavy as if something important had already gone wrong. In a small kennel at the back of the building, a police dog named Max sat calmly. His brown eyes followed every sound and every movement around him. Max was not just a dog, but a partner who had served for many years. Officer Tom stood near the desk reading a report for the third time. His face showed worry mixed with disbelief. The report spoke about a missing child and a failed search. It said the dog unit did not deliver results. It said the mission ended without success. Tom looked toward the kennel and felt his chest tighten. He knew Max better than anyone in the building. Max had tracked criminals through rain and darkness. Max had found people others could not. Failure was not a word that fit him. The mission had started the night before near the old forest road. A child had disappeared after sunset and fear spread fast. Search teams arrived with lights and equipment. Max had been brought in to lead the trail. At first everything felt normal. Max moved with focus and strength. His nose stayed close to the ground. His body stayed alert and steady. The trail led toward the river path. Then something changed. Max slowed down and stopped near the trees. He did not pull forward as expected. He stood still and let out a low sound. The team thought the scent was gone. Rain started to fall harder. Mud covered the ground and washed smells away. The team waited and watched Max closely. Max turned back toward Tom and sat down. The decision was made to call off the search for the night. No one wanted to say it out loud. The child was still missing. The dog had not completed the mission. By morning the report was written. It focused on results and outcomes. It did not talk about instincts or warnings. It did not talk about the look in Max's eyes. Tom felt anger rise inside him as he read. He remembered the way Max had reacted. It was not confusion or fear. It was caution. The captain entered the room with slow steps. He spoke in a firm and tired voice. He said hard choices had to be made. He said the department could not afford failure. Tom listened without speaking. Other officers avoided his eyes. They all knew what the words meant. Later that morning, a quiet order was prepared. Max was to be removed from active duty. The paper did not explain much. It only listed reasons and procedures. Tom walked to the kennel with heavy feet. Max stood up when he saw him. His tail moved gently against the floor. He waited for direction like always. Tom knelt beside the bars and rested his hand there. Max leaned closer and stayed still. There was trust in his posture. Tom felt a strong pull in his chest. He knew something important had been missed. He knew Max had tried to tell them something. The station continued its routine around them. Phones rang and doors opened and closed. Life moved forward as if nothing had changed. Tom stayed there longer than usual. He watched Max breathe slowly. He noticed a small scratch on Max's paw from the forest. He remembered every mission they had shared. Max had saved lives without needing praise. He worked without fear or doubt. Now he was being judged by a single night. As the sun climbed higher, the station felt colder. Tom stood up and took one last look. Max's eyes followed him as he walked away. Tom returned to his desk but could not focus. The report stayed open in front of him. The words felt empty and wrong. He replayed the moment by the river again. Max had stopped for a reason. The forest had been quiet but not empty. Tom closed the report and stood up. He knew rules mattered. But truth mattered more. Outside, the clouds began to move slowly. Light pushed through the gray sky. Tom felt a decision forming inside him. The mission was not over. The story was not finished. And Max had not failed. The night returned to Tom like a heavy shadow that would not leave. He sat alone in his small room while rain tapped softly against the window. Every sound reminded him of the forest and the quiet moment by the river. Sleep stayed far away no matter how hard he tried. Tom kept seeing Max standing still near the trees. It was not the stance of a lost dog. It was the stance of a guard. Max had sensed something wrong and chose caution over speed. Before sunrise, Tom made his decision. He dressed quietly and left his room without telling anyone. The city streets were empty and wet as he drove toward the station. The police building looked smaller in the early light. Only a few lights were on inside. The world felt paused as if waiting for the next move. Tom walked straight to the kennel area. The hallway smelled clean and cold. Max lifted his head the moment Tom appeared. There was no barking or excitement. Max simply stood and waited. His calm made the moment feel even heavier. Tom unlocked the kennel door slowly. Max stepped out and stood close to him. The leash clicked softly as Tom secured it. They moved through the station quietly. No one stopped them. No one asked questions. Outside the air was sharp and fresh. Max paused and sniffed the ground. His body shifted as memories returned. They drove toward the forest road again. Fog rested low over the trees like a blanket. The river could be heard even before it was seen. Tom parked near the same spot as before. Max stepped out and immediately became alert. His focus was stronger than the night before. Without a command, Max began to move. His steps were steady and confident. Tom followed closely, holding the leash firm. The forest felt different in daylight. Birds moved in the branches above. The ground was still wet but clearer. Max led Tom past the river path. He moved toward a narrow trail hidden by bushes. This path had been missed during the first search. Max stopped suddenly and lowered his head. His body became tense and careful. Tom felt his heart begin to race. Max moved forward slowly and quietly. They reached a fallen log covered in leaves. Max scratched gently at the ground. Tom knelt and pushed the leaves aside. Underneath was a small piece of cloth. It was torn and damp. A sound followed soon after. It was faint but real. It was a soft human voice. Tom froze and listened carefully. The sound came from behind the rocks near the water. Max pulled gently in that direction. Tom followed and called for help on his radio. His voice stayed calm but urgent. He explained what they had found. Behind the rocks they saw a small shelter made of branches. Inside was the missing child. The child was weak but alive. Max sat down immediately beside the child. He stayed still and calm. His presence brought comfort without effort. Rescue teams arrived quickly. Medical workers took control of the situation. The child was wrapped in warm blankets. Tom stepped back and watched Max. The dog never moved his eyes from the child. His mission was clear and complete. The captain arrived shortly after. His face showed surprise and regret. He listened as Tom explained everything. Evidence soon became clear. The scent had been blocked on purpose. The child had been hidden carefully. Max's behavior made sense now. He had sensed danger ahead. He chose to protect rather than rush. The return to the station felt different. Max walked proudly beside Tom. Officers stopped and stared in silence. The quiet order from before was removed. No announcement was needed. Everyone understood what had happened. Max was not a failure. He was the reason the child was alive. Tom felt relief and anger at the same time. He thought about how close they had come to losing Max. Trust had almost been replaced by paperwork. That night Tom stayed by the kennel again. Max rested peacefully inside. The bond between them felt stronger than ever. Outside the station the rain stopped. The sky cleared slowly. The mission was no longer a question. The truth had spoken clearly. Max had done his duty. And the story was only moving forward. The next morning the station felt different from the moment the doors opened. Officers moved with more purpose and less noise. Whispers followed Tom and Max as they walked through the halls. Eyes that once avoided them now showed respect and relief. The captain called a meeting in the main room. Everyone gathered slowly and took their seats. Max sat beside Tom with calm confidence. No one questioned his presence. The captain cleared his throat and looked around. He spoke about responsibility and judgment. He admitted that decisions made too quickly can cause harm. His voice stayed steady, but his expression carried weight. He explained how the search had been reviewed carefully. Every detail had been checked again. The hidden path near the river stood out clearly now. The blocked scent trail showed intent and planning. The captain turned toward Max and paused. He said the dog had shown discipline and awareness. He said the dog had protected the team and the child. The room stayed silent as his words settled. Tom felt a slow release in his chest. The tension he had carried began to fade. Max stayed still, but his ears moved slightly. After the meeting, officers approached one by one. Some knelt to Max's level. Some offered quiet words of thanks. Others simply nodded with respect. Tom watched all of it with mixed feelings. Pride rose strong, but so did concern. He knew how close Max had come to being removed. He knew trust had nearly been replaced by haste. Later that day, Tom was asked to write a full report. This report would tell the real story. It would explain instinct and experience. It would remind others that results are not always immediate. Tom sat at his desk and began to write. He described Max's movements carefully. He explained the pause near the river. He detailed the decision to stop and turn back. Each word mattered. This report was more than paperwork. It was a defense of loyalty and understanding. While Tom worked, Max rested nearby. His breathing was slow and steady. The station noises no longer bothered him. News of the rescue spread outside the building. People spoke about the missing child who was found alive. They spoke about the dog who did not give up. They spoke about trust and patience. Messages arrived from other departments. Some praised the outcome. Some asked questions about training and judgment. Tom answered when needed, but stayed focused. He wanted the lesson to be clear. A good partner listens beyond rules. In the evening, the captain approached Tom quietly. He thanked him for not giving up. He admitted that fear of failure can blind judgment. Tom nodded and accepted the words. He did not seek praise. He only wanted fairness. Max was officially returned to active service. His status was restored without condition. A new schedule was placed on the board. Tom and Max were assigned lighter duties for a short time. The break was meant to allow recovery. It also gave space to reflect. During walks around the station grounds, Max moved with ease. His steps were confident and measured. He showed no signs of stress or confusion. Tom noticed how Max watched everything closely. The dog had always been observant. Now it felt even stronger. One afternoon, Tom took Max back near the river. Not for work, but for closure. The water flowed quietly under the open sky. Max stopped briefly at the same spot as before. He sniffed the air and then continued forward. There was no tension this time. Tom felt a sense of peace settle in. The place no longer held questions. The truth had already been found. Back at the station, a small notice was posted. It spoke about teamwork and awareness. Max's name was mentioned with respect. New handlers were reminded to observe behavior carefully. Training sessions were adjusted slightly. Instinct was given more value. As days passed, the routine returned. But something had changed beneath the surface. People listened more closely now. Tom felt stronger in his role. He trusted his partner without doubt. Max trusted him just the same. One evening, Tom stayed late again. The station lights were dim and quiet. He sat near the kennel and watched Max rest. The bond between them felt deeper than before. It had been tested and proven. Not by commands but by understanding. Outside the night sky was clear. The rain from earlier days was gone. The air felt lighter. Tom knew the hardest part was over. But the story still had one more chapter. Because true recognition does not come from survival alone. The final weeks of the season passed slowly but with purpose. The station returned to its normal rhythm, but something inside had shifted. Officers spoke with more care and listened with more patience. Every lesson learned stayed alive in quiet actions. Tom and Max continued working together each day. Their routine was steady and calm. They trained in open fields and empty streets. They practiced not just commands but awareness. Max moved with confidence that came from experience. He did not rush, and he did not hesitate without reason. His actions showed balance and thought. People from nearby areas began visiting the station. Some brought letters of thanks. Some brought small gifts for Max. Others simply wanted to see the dog who trusted his instincts. Tom stayed humble through it all. He reminded everyone that Max was doing his job. He reminded them that teamwork made the difference. One afternoon the captain called Tom into his office. The room was quiet and warm. A small box sat on the desk. The captain spoke carefully and slowly. He talked about service and responsibility. He talked about learning from mistakes. He opened the box and lifted a simple collar. The tag was clean and strong. It carried words chosen with care. Service above all was written clearly. Tom accepted it with a nod. He felt emotion rise but kept steady. This was not about pride. This was about acknowledgement. That evening a small gathering took place in the yard. There were no cameras and no speeches for show. Just officers and quiet respect. Max sat at the center with the new collar around his neck. He did not understand the words. But he understood the tone. Tom rested his hand on Max's back. The bond between them felt complete. Tested by doubt and strengthened by trust. As time passed the story moved beyond the station. People spoke about listening to instincts. They spoke about patience over pressure. Training programs were updated carefully. New handlers were taught to watch behavior closely. They were told that silence can speak. Tom sometimes spoke to new recruits. He shared the story without drama. He focused on lessons rather than praise. Max aged slowly as seasons changed. His steps became calmer but his focus remained sharp. He worked fewer hours but with the same heart. One quiet evening Tom took Max for a walk near the river again. The water reflected soft light from the sky. The place felt peaceful now. Max paused briefly and looked ahead. There was no tension in his stance. Only calm awareness. They continued walking side by side. The past no longer weighed on them. The future felt steady. Back at the station, Max rested comfortably in his space. Tom checked on him one last time before leaving. Their eyes met in quiet understanding. Trust had carried them through doubt. Instinct had guided the way. Respect had replaced judgment. The story of failure had turned into one of insight. Not because of noise or attention, but because someone chose to listen. Max was never just a dog. He was a partner who knew when to act and when to wait. And in that understanding the mission was truly complete.